Hello, I'm Pai Huaita, and I wanted to bring up the fact that I recently got an age strike on my channel. Essentially, what this means is you can't show this video to kids because it has something that would be disagreeable. And to an extent, I agree that the content that they flagged me for would be disagreeable to children. But via their guidelines, I don't necessarily agree with this strike. So I just wanted to bring that up and talk about it a little bit. Essentially, the image that got me an age strike here was an image of a soldier who was disfigured during a gas attack. And I had that in the presentation, the video, to show people what it was like what happens if you get hit with gas, because it's not super well understood, I think, by the general public. So I had that image in there. But the intent was never to shock or disgust people. And that's the reason, essentially, it got banned or it got age striked or whatever, because the YouTube algorithm says that my intent was to shock and disgust people. I'll actually bring up the YouTube rules in a sec, but I want to make it clear that I'm not a shock and awe type channel. I even had a verbal pause as well as a visual pause before then. Let me actually, just to further my case along here, let me show you what I mean by that. Here's a clip of that exact moment. If you're watching, I'm about to show you an image of a victim of mustard gas. If you're just listening, well, yeah, that's probably for the best. Look away now if you don't want to see gore. All right, this is your warning. So my verbal pause and graphical pause could have been better, but it was a pause nonetheless. And the shock or disgust viewer part, this is where that comes into play. Our violent or graphic content strike, in my belief, comes from the third instance, the third bullet here. I'm just going to read that out in its entirety. Footage, audio, or imagery involving road accidents, natural disasters, war aftermath, terrorist attack aftermath, street fights, physical attacks, immolation, torture, corpses, protests or riots, robberies, medical procedures, or other such scenarios with the intent to shock or disgust viewers. And end quote on that. So I believe ours falls into three of the categories that it talked about: war aftermath, the physical attacks, and then other such scenarios. But it does not meet the criteria of the quote, with the intent to shock or disgust viewers, end quote. My intent was never to shock or disgust people. If it was my intent to shock and disgust people, there would have been no verbal pause and there would have been no graphical pause to go on with that. I would have had the previous slide on my PowerPoint, because that's how I decided to do the video, and where it has a dude sitting in the gas mask, and then next slide, bam, that would have been the tragedy that was that individual who had been attacked and very hurt by gas. And that's the part that gets me, the whole shock or disgust people, because I don't want to do that. That's not cool. You know, I believe in education and teaching people and showing people, no kidding, what happens to people if, something horrific like a war occurs and they're gassed, in our case, because war is terrible. It always has been. It always will be. And there's too many people who think that it's a good thing or that we need one. And you see that not just where I live, but in countries all around the world. And part of this education, this tragedy on the world stage that I talked about, one of the, in my opinion, overarching things is that war is horrible, and especially in World War I's case, pointless. And that poor individual was gassed all over probably a few meters of land. So I respectfully disagree with the age strike, but that is my opinion. Feel free to form yours. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.